Well then, we are back with my own opinion again, after my last video didn't do that well. Anyways, this video was inspired by my power creep video and what I heard from the community over the last few years. And also this will be the first video I would dedicate to a single operator. This operator is Myrtle, the most used 4-star Vanguard in Arknights. But despite the fact that she is the most used Vanguard and the strongest one by far, people are calling her existence a mistake. Let's do what we do best, which is a quick deep dive. First of all, why is Myrtle considered strong? What makes her the universal pick for Vanguards? The first thing that comes to mind is her archetype, Flag Bearer Vanguard. Without a doubt, the best archetype when it comes to generate DP. But this would mean that Elysium and Salak, the other two flag bearers, would also be considered powerful. But they are not talked about that much. Because obviously they are strong, but what makes Myrtle stand out is her rarity in this case. She can generate just as much DP, but is way cheaper to build than Elysium or Salak because she is a 4-star. This makes her accessible to even new players. Next up would be her talent. All Vanguards recover 28 HP every second, or 56 HP every second, because most of us are playing on 2x speed. This makes her very viable in combination with other Pioneer or Charger Vanguards, giving them the bit they need in order to hold a lane in the beginning phase of a level without the need for a medic. The other flag bearers help a bit with the deployment of snipers or the next operator. Finally, Myrtle's bread and butter, her skill 1. At M3, starting with 13 SP, dealing 22 SP and recovers per second, meaning at 2x speed, the skill is active after 4 seconds, and then every 19 seconds afterwards. From these 19 seconds, 8 are the duration of the skill itself, and during this time she generates 14 DP. We can gladly ignore skill 2, since this is not really what people use. The other two flag bearers generate 4 more DP, but every 21 seconds. This means that Salak and Elysium generate more overall, but Myrtle's can be activated far more often, and it's easier to M3, and the fact that it can be activated more often makes it much more useful in longer operations. To summarize, her archetype makes her a good Vanguard to gain DP, her talent synergizes with other Vanguards, her skill can be used more often, and she is cheaper to M3 and E2. But these would just be her strengths in comparison to her fellow flag bearers. Her weaknesses are a lack of utility, since you don't really use your second skill. Elysium's second skill debuffs nearby targets with a slow. Salak's second skill heals and gives a defense increase, or her third skill applies fragile, slow and stun. But even without this utility, people are still calling Myrtle a mistake. So we have to search somewhere else for the problem. Then how about we compare her to the other Vanguards? Pioneers, for example, are good for quote-unquote holding lanes. They have the highest block count out of all Vanguards. And their abilities deal a good amount of damage, but their DP generation is not the best. Most of the time their best skill takes some time to charge, or there's a trade-off between DP and damage. Next up would be Chargers. They have high attack and good damaging skills, but they only block one single enemy. And their only way to generate DP is by defeating an enemy. This means they need to contest kills with other operators, make him not so good when more ops are deployed later on in the stage, or if the early enemies are a bit on the tanky side. Next archetype would be the Tacticians. They are good for holding lanes, since they can place a summon that doesn't consume a deployment slot, and it's free to place. But unfortunately, this summon is not all too strong, exception being Mute's Eyes for a certain bug that has been going around. And even then, the summon's main focus is to help with stalling out enemies. Most of the time they're able to revive, making them a constant on the field, also applying stuff like slow or getting a decrease in defense in order to help out with their survivability and stall potential. But just like other Vanguard classes, they also don't generate that much DP because they traded a bit of stalling for DP generation. And finally, we have the Agents. This Vanguard archetype is very good because it's flexible, since they can be redeployed quicker than other Vanguards, making them the fast redeploys of Vanguards. They have good damage and can be placed where you need some extra support. In addition, they can attack aerial enemies since their attacks count as range. but because of their fast redeploy nature, their defenses are not the best, and their DP generation is tied to them attacking. Meaning, if they can't attack, you won't get any DP out of them. And these would be all the other Vanguard archetypes. Now, with all of that knowledge, let's see where Myrtle holds the edge. First of all, she still generates more DP than most Vanguards, exceptions being some of the Pioneers or Agents when they get to constantly attack. Her skills charge quicker than most Vanguards, exception being Agents since they work on deploy, and maybe some few other Vanguards like Bagpipe S2 for example. Lastly, she has no condition to gain DP unlike Agents or Chargers, making her pretty much viable whenever you need. And all of these things is what make her so universal. This is what makes Myrtle so good. She generates a lot of DP quite quickly, she is cheap to build, and her generation is not bound by any other condition. And in the end, her rapid generation of DP is most likely her biggest selling point. Nowadays, you need a lot of DP, because you need to do some setup every now and again, meaning the faster you can get those operators on the field, the better. So having a Vanguard that can generate DP fast, on top of natural DP generation, helps a lot. You will quickly find yourself maximum DP to deploy all the ops you need. And you will also have DP whenever you need it, especially when you run Texas Alter and Yata Alter, with them taking 20 DP each after the third deployment. By the time they are back, you already covered their cost. Or she can even compensate for higher redeploy costs of operators you need to deploy more often throughout a long operation, like for example Sorter or other heli drops. And now that we have all of this, does this actually make her a mistake on Hypergriff's part? Honestly, I would say yes. Well, she doesn't bring much utility to a squad. The fact that she is the default option when you don't know what to pick makes her way too prominent in every team. And when she is able to provide DP from beginning to end of a mission, you don't really have to worry about running out of DP. Meaning, even if you fuck up the placement of a single operator, as long as you don't outright mess up, you can still redeploy them, without giving a damn about their cost. And her accessibility makes her very attractive to use as well, barely taking any resources. Most people are fine with just building Myrtle as their only Vanguard, missing out on many other fun Vanguard options. And finally, all their attempts to power creep Myrtle didn't really work, because she works really well with Elysium and or Salak to supply more DP when you will ever need. And even if it's not with Salak or Elysium, she even works well with other Vanguards. She's able to help them hold a lane quite well or to keep them alive. So when you have Myrtle, it's not a question of is this Vanguard I choose better, but yes, it will most likely work well with Myrtle. And this would be it. As always, thank you for watching this video. I will see you again in my next video, and hopefully I will have this one uploaded faster than my previous ones.